Welcome everyone, this is Hipnozer, and that's another part of the philosophy vlog with Grand Comeback. And in this series we want to talk about the philosophy of the new shaping. Okay, before we do, I'd like to remind us the definition of the new shaping from the previous presentation. I need to remind myself where that was. I think maybe it was this guy. No, not this time. The exploration tools. What was that? I think that's it. Oh, there we go. So let's just read it aloud. New shaping from German Neugestaltung is the idea that is the middle ground between the conservative order and the revolution. We need to keep in mind that even though this idea has revolution in its definition, it's not revolutionary. In fact, it stresses out that changes need to be thought through while understanding their necessity. The idea opens the conservative mind for change and progress without ruining the base of trust. So that's the base definition of the concept of new shaping. And it sort of overlaps with what we discussed with Friedrich Nietzsche about creating our own meaning. As we all know, creating own meaning is a rather expensive thing to do, and Neugestaltung, new shaping, can be a tool that can be used for creating own meaning. So, what are we doing in the Neugestaltung to create the new meaning? First of all, we need to make space for this new meaning, and that can oftentimes mean the destruction of the old concept, sort of like the demolition of an old building. And when we demolish an old building, we can build a new one, hopefully a better one that makes up for the old one. Let me tell you a story that might be helpful to visualize this philosophical concept. In the old times, Wrocław had a building called Poltegor, and that building was demolished when I was a young kid, around, I think, was it 2006? I'm not entirely sure, somewhere around that time. And then there was the new building in its place, known as the Sky Tower, which, as for the December 2025, is still in Wrocław. So that's sort of the example of the philosophy of new shaping introduced in the real world. The next example that might be connected with the philosophy of the new shaping is the Protestant Revolution, connected with the mentioned earlier philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche. And these guys made space for their new order by questioning the classically understood Christian faith, the Catholic faith. Of course, they didn't question it completely, as the Catholic faith still has some ground in our world. Nevertheless, they did question its dominant power and created the alternative order, which made it possible for the technocratic order to develop. So that are the basics of the new shaping. Once we talked about the basics, we can ask ourselves, how long will the order of the machines last? So what we're essentially ask is how to make space in the future. And the answer to that is not yet known. It's a lot of theorizing about what will happen in the following years. What we can certainly say is that both the population of plain folk humans and the population of machines were skyrocketing in recent years, which consumed a lot of space and a lot of resources. Also, we had to change our opinion about topics relatively frequently, which can be compared to switching the light on and off with a very fast speed. When we're repeating that many times for a long period of time, this can lead to the situation where the light bulb stops working and we need to basically replace the light bulb. So that is the risk connected with the lack of space, both physically and philosophically. And the philosophy of the Neugestaltung can serve as a tool that can hopefully give us the space. However, this tool has its limitations, because some people might be removed with the old building or the old structure of the system. Nevertheless, so far that's the only thing we've got that lets us build something new. And speaking of sacrificing the old order, that leads us to the idea of Vincaridism and the idea of sacrificing for a greater good. So the new person that stays is the Messiah, and the old person that has to be sacrificed is the Vincarid. These are not new concepts that I talk about. These concepts are known at least since the 19th century, and when we're talking about Vincarid and the biblical messiahs, maybe even the ancient times. So, where will the new shaping lead us in the following years? That remains to be seen. that will hopefully be unraveled on our Hipnozer channels in the foreseeable future. As I mentioned in the 500 subscribers vlog, what I'm trying to do. Wait, I've lost myself for a moment. Okay, I think I've said everything that was necessary. It left my mind. Either way, that philosophy of the new shaping will be a rather important part of our channel, and the channel hopes to shape the future despite the setbacks and challenges of the new shaping order. So, with that in mind, I think we can end our series for now. Oh, but before we end, what happens after the order of the machines? Is there going to be a fourth order, something entirely new? Maybe a hybrid order? Maybe, just maybe. Like half human and half machine hybrid, I'm thinking, but that's a lot of theorizing for now. So, the other question is, when the new order arises, what will be the intermediate period? The last intermediate period was between Renaissance, Enlightenment, and beginnings of the Industrial Revolution. That was the second intermediate period. And when our intermediate period will start, that remains to be seen. Nevertheless, there is some sort of a change brewing. And yes, the only thing that comes to mind is a hybrid order for now. Or perhaps if both, or the second option, if both humans and the machines fail at the same time, that means we will basically loop back to the order of nature. Sort of. Although the question is if the new nature, after both machines and humans, will still be the same nature, or should it be considered separately as a new kind of being? Anyway, I think that all of the things are mentioned for now. Great, thanks everyone for watching. See you then.